Greetings everyone, Brad here with Mild-Mannered EDC. Today I thought we could do a short little video, no pun intended, of the smallest EDC knife that I carry. So this is like what I mean by like it's a legitimate standalone knife that I carry to do EDC knife type activities. It's not this. This, while technically I suppose, I put a lot of these little classics on my keychain, I don't do that mainly for the knife. I do that for scissors and other tools that they have. Not that the knife is completely useless, but it's just not the knife that I... So anyways, long way to say we're not talking this. But this is the smallest knife that I EDC, and I do off and on. Generally, it'll be something I take to work, or it'll be just something I throw in my fifth pocket if I'm not really in the mood to carry a bigger knife or whatever. And this one's pretty small. So it is the... There you go. Bestech Reticulon. There you go. Pretty small little guy there, right? Now, I consider this, an interesting knife for a number of reasons. One, it's small. It certainly is small. I think it's pretty. I think it's kind of a pretty design. And it is so this is a Bestech, as I mentioned, and this is an Isham design. I think you can see that right there. There you go. This is Isham designed. And yeah, it's just, which in some ways, right? I mean, it kind of looks like an Isham, but yeah, it's what I think is interesting is that it's tiny, but it's also really well done. I mean, it's not a gimmick in the sense of, it's not made to be kind of a joke little knife. It's a legit little carry for EDC. So there you go. I mean, that's kind of my, cover story on it. Now, my understanding of the name Reticulon comes from Zeta Reticulon, which are a race of alien species that I think at some point were, I don't know if there were two people abducted or something, and this was the species they reported back from their abduction. I don't remember the story exactly, but basically it's, what I find ironic about that is that from what I understand about these Zeta Reticulon species of aliens out roaming the galaxies is that they're actually a massive species. I mean, they're like all over the place. They have this. So, I mean, it's just kind of funny to have a little tiny knife named after them. So whatever. I don't know what the naming really was, if it was based on that or what it was based on, but that was kind of the main reference from Reticulon that I was able to find. So all that aside, it doesn't have a ton to do with the knife, but I thought so let me give you some quick specs here. So we've got a 2-inch blade on the Reticulon, and it's a 1.75-inch cutting edge. You can see you've got a little bit of a finger choil right there. You've got a blade thickness of 0.12, so not an incredibly thin blade thickness. You would think it would be thinner, I think, for a little blade this size, but whatever. You've got a handle length of 2.87 and a handle thickness of 0.37, which gives you an overall kind of tip to tail on this little bugger of 5 inches and a feathery 1.25 ounces. So I guess technically this is also the lightest of my EDCs as well. So maybe a couple size comparisons. How about a CRKT Squid? That's a pretty tiny little carry. There you go. That's a good comparison. How about a standard Swiss Army knife? So you go. And in fact, the blade on my standard Swiss Army knife is still bigger. Certainly the cutting edge is, but just in general, the blade is bigger. So there's that. How about the biggest Bestech in my collection? The Bestech Swordfish. There you go. So the Reticulon kind of fits within the handle of even the Swordfish. And maybe one more. How about, the Kershaw Atmos. There you go. So there you go. Those are some size comparisons, just to give you a sense of what this little knife's about. Now, again, it's a small knife, but it's made well. So you've got a Damascus blade here, and you can certainly see it's definitely full Damascus, which is cool. There you go. It's actually, I think, pretty beautifully done. I think they did a nice job. And I like Elijah Isham's logo. It's kind of hard to see with the Damascus, but yeah, it's pretty neat. I think it looks cool on there. So you get this little drop point blade. It is a flat grind. So there you go. And this particular knife runs on ball bearings, caged ball bearings, which gives it a very snappy little action. And in fact, let me see if I can show you those. There you go. You can see those right there. So those are the ball bearings, or the caged bearings right in there. So yeah, I think they did a cool job of, look at that. I mean, it's very snappy, and it's not something I misfire by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, it's just always, boom, comes flying right out. It's a little small, so you kind of have to, you have to get used to it. And I don't have the biggest hands, so it's not super hard to manage, but there you go. It is a liner lock. I'm sorry. It is a frame lock, not a liner lock, which I think is pretty neat. And in fact, it even has an over travel stop and steel lock bar insert, which I think is kind of cool. So again, they made this very small, but they made it cool, and they made it very well. It's got this interesting sort of multi-dimensional titanium milled scales, right? Which I think is cool. It's got this titanium pocket clip. It's a little tight maybe, and this actually is a little pointy right there. So that's, maybe one quibble. But I love how it swoops down and follows the angles of the knife. I mean, like I said, this is not a knife, I guess if they were doing this to be a gimmick, and maybe they were, I don't know. But if they were, fine, but they still made it really well. So even if it was to be a gimmick, whatever. But, my sense is it's not a gimmick. It's a legit, just little tiny carry. And maybe there are people out there that just like little tiny knives, and this is what they want to, this is perfectly sufficient to them to be a box opener or letter opener or whatever else they do. For ergos, it's got pretty good ergos too. It's more of a 2-finger on the scales, 1 up on the choil. And the choil works actually quite well. This feels a little awkward. I don't think you're really meant to do this with it, but holding it like this, yeah, it's pretty comfortable. There's maybe a little hot spot off the back here, but this is all really well rounded, and you can see the full back spacer here, all very well done. So overall, here you go. This is, like I mentioned, this was just going to be a short little video, but I thought I'd show you guys off because I think this is something I really think Best Tech did really well. They took a little design from a cool designer and executed it well. And I think that deserves some credit because there's a lot of crap out there in the really tiny, small knife market. And this is not one of those pieces. This is a cool piece. So if you are looking for a knife that's, not going to scare anybody necessarily, or unless, I don't know, the Zeta reticulans sound scary, at least when I did some reading about them. But this particular reticulan doesn't seem too scary, I don't think. And you can get a non-Damascus version, which is a bit cheaper. This one came out about $111, $110. I think you can get them on sale sometimes between like 90 and 100 usually with the Damascus. And like I said, there are cheaper ones in that $70, $80 range with the non-Damascus. But yeah, like I said, I think this is, for that price, it didn't bother me. I think it's done really well. I think it's cool. It's fun. I think it's very good looking, and it's a functional little knife. So there you go. This is the smallest EDC that mild-mannered EDC carries around on any given day, and also the lightest, as we discussed. Let me know what yours is, or if you don't even bother with small knives. Some people don't, and that's fine. But if you do enjoy, let me see if I can finger flick this. Right, I've never actually done that. Let me see here. Oh gosh, this is going to be embarrassing, or it's just going to go flying across. Oh, there we go. Look at that. I did it. Look at that. Ha, I'm not going to do it again because I won't be able to probably. And it didn't go sailing across the room. So awesome. So anyways, with that, I hope you've enjoyed this little view of my little reticulon here. It's an interesting knife if you're into this sort of thing. Check it out if you'd like. Let me know down in the comments sort of what you consider your smallest carry, or like I said, if you even bother with it. So with that, stay safe out there. Be mild-mannered to one another, and all the best.